Hello, my name is Jacob White, and welcome to the second episode of Noetry. Today is July 4th, 2025, and I've compiled a selection of poems and readings to go along with today's theme, whatever that is. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy these poems. First, we're going to read a few by Paul Laurence Dunbar. The first is titled Song of Summer. This is gospel weather show, hills is sorta hazy, meadows level as a flow, callin' to the lazy. Sky all white with streaks of blue, sunshine softly gleamin'. D'ain't no work hit's right to do, nothin's right but dreamin'. Dreamin' by the riverside, with the waters glistenin', feelin' good and satisfied as you lay listenin' to the little naked boys splashin' in the water, hollerin' for to express their joys just like youngsters oughter. Squirrel a tippin' on his toes so's to hide and view ya. Whole flocks of camp meetin' crows shoutin' hallelujah. Peckerwood upon the tree tappin' like a hammer. Jaybird chattin' with a bee tryin' to teach him grammar. Breeze is blowin' with perfume just enough to tease you. Hollyhocks is all in bloom, smellin' for to please you. Go away, folks, and let me lone. Times is gettin' dearer. Summer's settin' on the throne, and I'm layin' nearer. And now another by Paul Laurence Dunbar. This one titled The Debt. This is the debt I pay, just for one riotous day. Years of regret and grief, sorrow without relief. Pay it I will to the end, until the grave, my friend, gives me a true release, gives me the clasp of peace. Slight was the thing I bought, small was the debt I thought. Poor was the loan at best, God but the interest. And a third by Dunbar to highlight today's theme, titled Sympathy. I know what the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals. I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats his wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars, for he must fly back to his perch and cling, when he fain would be on the bough a swing, and a pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. And now, the poem that was inspired, I believe, by those lines, by Maya Angelou. titled Caged Bird. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of the things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream, his wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. And now a couple by a very early African-American poet who came to America before the U.S. existed in 1761, I believe. And these poems are from the early 1770s. First, her name is Phillis Wheatley. And this one is titled A Hymn to Humanity to S.P.G. Esquire, who she mentions in this. It begins. Lo, for this dark terrestrial ball forsakes his azure paved hall, a prince of heavenly birth. Divine humanity, behold, what wonders rise, what charms unfold at his descent to earth. The bosoms of the great and good with wonder and delight he viewed, and fixed his empire there. Him close compressing to his breast, the sire of gods and men addressed, My son, my heavenly fair, descend to earth, there place thy throne, to succor man's afflicted son, each human heart inspire, to act in bounties unconfined, enlarge the close contracted mind, and fill it with thy fire. Quick as the word, with swift career, he wings his course from star to star, and leaves his bright abode. The virtue did his charms impart. There, then thy raptured heart perceived the rushing God. For then thy pitying eye did see the languid muse in low degree, then at thy desire descended the celestial nine, o'er me, methought they deigned to shine, and deigned to string my lyre. Can Afric's muse forgetful prove, or can such friendship fail to move a tender human heart? Immortal friendship, laurel crowned, the smiling graces all around, with every heavenly art. And another from Phillis Wheatley. She wrote before traveling to Britain, titled A Farewell to America, to Mrs. S.W. Adieu, New England's smiling meads, adieu, the flowering plain. I leave thine opening charms, O spring, and tempt the roaring main. In vain for me the flowerets rise, and boast their gaudy pride, while here beneath the northern skies I mourn for health denied. Celestial maid of rosy hue, O let me feel thy reign. I languish till thy face I view, thy vanished joys regain. Susanna mourns, nor can I bear to see the crystal shower, or mark the tender falling tear at sad departure's hour. Nor unregarding can I see her soul with grief oppressed, but let no sighs, no groans for me steal from her pensive breast. In vain the feathered warblers sing, in vain the garden blooms, and on the bosom of the spring breathes out her sweet perfumes. While for Britannia's distant shore we sweep the liquid plain, and with astonished eyes explore the wide extended main. Lo, health appears, celestial dame, complacent and serene, with Hebe's mantle o'er her frame, with soul delighting mien. To mark the vale where London lies with misty vapors crowned, which cloud Aurora's thousand dyes and veil her charms around. Why, Phoebus, moves thy car so slow thy rising ray, gives us the famous town to view, thou glorious king of day. For thee, Britannia, I resign New England's smiling fields, and view again her charms divine. What joy the prospect yields! But thou, temptation, hence away with all thy fatal train, nor once seduce my soul away by thy enchanting strain. Thrice happy they, whose heavenly shield secures their soul from harms, and fell temptation on the field of all its power disarms. Written in Boston, May 7th, 1773. And now, a couple of incredible selections by a poet I just discovered named Claude McKay. This show is making me read so much poetry. I'm thrilled to be compiling these for y'all. Okay, I'm going to read two from Claude McKay. The first is titled My Mountain Home. Get a sip. Egret, can you chill? Thank you, friend. My Mountain Home by Claude McKay. De mango tree in yellow bloom, de pretty yaki seed, de mammy where de John to wits come to have their daily feed. Show you the place where I was born, of which I am so proud, mongst de banana field and corn on a lone mountain road. One Sunday morning for the dower, for service time come on, must say that I been born to her little lazy son. Those early days been never dull, my heart was ever green. How I did love my little world, surrounded by penguin. And growing up with sweet freedom, about the yard I run, and tired out I'd hide me from the fierce heat of the sun. So glad I was the first day when ma sent me to the spring. I was so happy feeling then that I could do something. The early days passed quickly long, soon I became a man, and one day found myself among strange folks in a strange land. My little joys, my wholesome mind, they bullied out of me, and made me daily mourn and pine and wish that I was free. They taught me to distrust my life, they taught me what was grief. For months I travailed into strife, for I could find relief. But I'll return again, my will, and where my wild fern grows, and weep for me on Dawkins Hill, there, Willie, shall I go. And there is something near forgot, although I love it best. It is the loved, the hallowed spot where my dear mother rests. Look good and find it, Willie dear, see that from bush 'tis free. Remember that my heart is near, and you say you love me. And plant on it my favorite fern, which I've been usual wear. In days to come I shall return to end my wandering there. And another by McKay, titled America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life, I will confess I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. Her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength erect against her hate. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood, yet as a rebel fronts a king in state. I stand within her walls with not a shred of terror, malice, not a word of jeer. Darkly I gaze into the days ahead, and see her might and granite wonders there, beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. There's so many in this one. Let's see. Next, we have, of course, some Wordsworth. This is by William Wordsworth, entitled, Nuns Fret Not at Their Convent's Narrow Room. Nuns fret not at their convent's narrow room, and hermits are contented with their cells, and students with their pensive citadels, maids at the wheel, the weaver at his loom, sit blithe and happy, bees that soar for bloom, high as the highest peak of furnace fells, will murmur by the hour in foxglove bells. In truth the prison into which we doom ourselves no prison is, and hence for me in sundry moods 'twas pastime to be bound within the sonnet's scanty plot of ground, pleased if some souls, for such their needs must be, who have felt the weight of too much liberty, should find brief solace there, as I have found. And now the poem inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty by Emma Lazarus, titled The New Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed, sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows world-wide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, she cries, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. From 1866. Come back to that book. And now, from the Devil's Dictionary by Ambrose Bierce. The definition of freedom. Freedom. Noun. Exemption from the stress of authority in a beggarly half-dozen of restraints, infinite multitude of methods. A political condition that every nation supposes itself to enjoy in virtual monopoly. Liberty. The distinction between freedom and liberty is not accurately known. Naturalists have never been able to find a living specimen of either. Freedom, as every schoolboy knows, once shrieked as Kosciuszko fell. On every wind, indeed, that blows, I hear her yell. She screams whenever monarchs meet, and parliaments as well, to bind the chains about her feet and toll her knell. And when the sovereign people cast the votes they cannot spell, upon the pestilential blast her clamors swell. For all to whom the power's given to sway or to compel, among themselves apportion heaven and give her hell. And now a poem titled Freedom by Helen Hunt Jackson. What free man knoweth freedom? Never he whose father's father through long lives have reigned, or kingdoms which mere heritage obtained. Though from his youth to age he roam as free as winds, he dreams not freedom's ecstasy. But he whose birth was in a nation chained for centuries, where every breath was drained from breasts of slaves which knew not there could be such thing as freedom, he beholds the light burst, dazzling. Though the glory blind his sight, he knows the joy. Fools laugh because he reels, and wields confusedly his infant will. The wise man watching with a heart that feels, says, cure for freedom's harms is freedom still. And now another titled Freedom by William Stafford. Freedom is not following a river. Freedom is following a river, though, if you want to. It is deciding now by what happens now. It is knowing that luck makes a difference. No leader is free. No follower is free. The rest of us can often be free. Most of the world are living by creeds too odd, chancy, and habit-forming to be worth arguing about by reason. If you are oppressed, wake up about 4 a.m. Most places you can usually be free some of the time if you wake up before other people. Oh yeah. Now, some E.E. Cummings. Freedom is a breakfast food. Yeah, definitely need water for this. I think I've almost earned my drink. As freedom is a breakfast food, or truth can live with right and wrong, or molehills are from mountains made, long enough and just so long will being pay the rent of seam, and genius please the talent gang, and water most encourage flame. As hat racks into peaches grow, or hopes dance best on bald men's hair, and every finger is a toe, and any courage is a fear, long enough and just so long will the impure think all things pure, and hornets wail by children stung, or as the seeing are the blind, and robins never welcome spring, nor flat folk prove their world is round, nor dinksters die at break of dawn, and commons rare and millstones float, long enough and just so long, tomorrow will not be too late. Worms are the words, but joy's the voice. Down shall go which, and up come who. Breasts will be breasts, thighs will be thighs. Deeds cannot dream what dreams can do. Time is a tree, this life, one leaf. But love is the sky, and I am for you just so long and long enough. And now, another poem I've just discovered. Early 20th century African American poet named Gwendolyn B. Bennett. And this poem is titled To Usward. Let us be still as ginger jars are still upon a Chinese shelf, and let us be contained by entities of self, not still with lethargy and sloth, but quiet with the pushing of our growth, not self-contained with smug identity, but conscious of the strength in entity. If any have a song to sing that's different from the rest, oh, let them sing before the urgency of youth's behest. For some of us have songs to sing of jungle heat and fires, and some of us are solemn grown with pitiful desires. And there are those who feel the pull of seas beneath the skies, and some there be who want to croon of Negro lullabies. We claim no part with racial dearth. We want to sing the songs of birth, and so we stand like ginger jars bound round with dust and age. Like ginger jars we are sealed by nature's heritage. But let us break the seal of years with pungent thrusts of song, for there is joy in long-dried tears, for wetted passions of a throng. And now a poem by an Australian poet, an Aboriginal poet. Her name is Oodgeroo Noonuccal, and this poem is called Ballad of the Totems. My father was a Noonuccal man and kept old tribal way. His totem was the carpet snake, whom none must ever slay. But mother was of Pewee clan, and loudly she expressed the daring view that carpet snakes were nothing but a pest. Now one lived inside with us in full immunity, for no one dared to interfere with father's stern decree. A mighty fellow 10 feet long, and as we lay in bed, we kids could watch him round a beam not far above our head. Only the dog was scared of him. We'd hear its whines and growls, but mother fiercely hated him because he took her fowls. You should have heard her diatribes that flowed in angry torrents, with words you'd never see in print, except in D.H. Laurence. "I'd kill that robber," she would scream, fierce as a spotted cat. "You see that bulge inside of him? My speckly hen made that." But father's loud and strict command made even mother quake. I think he'd sooner kill a man than kill a carpet snake. That reptile was a greedy guts, and as each bulge digested, he'd come down on the hunt at night, as appetite suggested. We heard his stealthy slithering sound across the earthen floor, while the dog gave a startled yelp and bolted out the door. Then over in the chicken yard hysterical fowls gave tongue, loud frantic squawks accompanied by the barking of the mung, until at last the racket passed, and then to solve the riddle, next morning he was back up there with a new bulge in his middle. When father died, we wailed and cried, our grief was deep and sore, and strange to say, from that sad day, the snake was seen no more. The wise old men explained to us it was his tribal brother, and that is why it done a guy, but some looked hard at mother. She seemed to have a secret smile, her eyes were smug and wary. She looked about as innocent as the cat that ate the pet canary. We never knew, but anyhow, to end this tragic rhyme, I think we all had snake for tea one day about that time. And now a work by Arna Bontemps, titled, A Black Man Talks of Reaping. I have sown beside all waters in my day. I planted deep within my heart the fear that wind or foul would take the grain away. I planted safe against this stark, lean year. I scattered seed enough to plant the land in rows from Canada to Mexico, but for my reaping only what the hand can hold at once is all that I can show. Yet what I sowed and what the orchard yields, my brother's sons are gathering stalk and root. Small wonder then my children glean in fields they have not sown, and feed on bitter fruit. And now a work by Sir Philip Sidney, entitled On Tyranny. Oh no, I'm sorry, The Yoke of Tyranny. What, have I thus betrayed my liberty? Can those black beams such burning marks engrave in my free side? Or am I born a slave, whose neck becomes such yoke of tyranny? Or want I sense to feel my misery, or sprite, disdain of such disdain I have? Who for long faith, though daily help I crave, may get no alms but scorn of beggary. Virtue awake, beauty but beauty is, I may, I must, I can, I will, I do. Leave following that, which it is gain to miss. Let her go. Soft, but here she comes. Go to, unkind, I love you not. O me, that I doth make my heart give to my tongue the lie. Now a rather famous poem titled Dulce et Decorum est. The title originates from a work by Horace, the Greek poet. Dulce et Decorum est pro patria mori, which means it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. This is by Wilfred Owen, entitled Dulce et Decorum est, from 1920. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots but limped on, bloodshod. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of tired, outstripped 5 nines that dropped behind. Gas, gas, quick boys. An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim, through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smoldering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin, if you could hear, at every jolt, the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. And now two works by Wystan Hugh Auden, known as W.H. Auden. The first is called Epitaph on a Tyrant. Perfection of a kind was what he was after, and the poetry he invented was easy to understand. He knew human folly like the back of his hand, and was greatly interested in armies and fleets. When he laughed, respectable senators burst with laughter, and when he cried, the little children died in the streets. And this next poem by W.H. Auden is titled September 1st, 1939, which was the date Hitler began his invasion of Poland, which started World War II. I sit in one of the dives on 52nd Street, uncertain and afraid as the clever hopes expire of a low, dishonest decade. Waves of anger and fear circulate over the bright and darkened lands of the earth, obsessing our private lives. The unmentionable odor of death offends the September night. Accurate scholarship can unearth the whole offense from Luther until now that has driven a culture mad. Find what occurred at Linz, what huge imago made a psychopathic god. I and the public know what all school children learn. Those to whom evil is done do evil in return. Exiled Thucydides knew all that a speech can say about democracy and what dictators do. The elderly rubbish they talk to an apathetic grave analyzed all in his book, The Enlightenment Driven Away. The habit-forming pain, mismanagement, and grief, we must suffer them all again. Into this neutral air where blind skyscrapers use their full height to proclaim the strength of collective man, each language pours its vain competitive excuse. But who can live for long in an euphoric dream? Out of the mirror they stare, imperialism's face and the eternal in the international wrong. Faces along the bar cling to their average day. The lights must never go out, the music must always play. All the conventions conspire to make this fort assume the furniture of home, lest we should see where we are, lost in a haunted wood, children afraid of the night, who have never been happy or good. The windiest militant trash important persons shout is not so crude as our wish. What mad Nijinsky wrote about Diaghilev is true of the normal heart. For the error bred in the bone of each woman and each man craves what it cannot have, not universal love, but to be loved alone. From the conservative dark into the ethical life, the dense commuters come, repeating their morning vow. I will be true to the wife. I'll concentrate more on work. And helpless governors wake to resume their compulsory game. Who can release them now? Who can reach the deaf? Who can speak for the dumb? All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, the romantic lie in the brain of the sensual man in the street, and the lie of authority whose buildings grope the sky. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizens or the police. We must love one another or die. Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies, yet dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of Eros and the dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame. And now another poet I had never read before. Two works by Gwendolyn Brooks. The first, titled, We Real Cool. The pool players, 7 at the Golden Shovel. We real cool, we left school, we lurk late, we strike straight, we sing sin, we thin gin, we jazz June, we die soon. And another by Gwendolyn Brooks, titled Boy Breaking Glass. To Mark Crawford, from whom the commission. Whose broken window is a cry of art, success that winks aware, as elegance as a treasonable faith, is raw, is sonic, is old-eyed premiere. Our beautiful flaw and terrible ornament, our barbarous and metal little man. I shall create, if not a note, a whole, if not an overture, a desecration, full of pepper and light, and salt and night and cargoes. Don't go down the plank if you see there's no extension, each to his grief, each to his loneliness and fidgety revenge. Nobody knew where I was, and now I am no longer there. The only sanity is a cup of tea. The music is in minors. Each one another is having different weather. It was you who threw away my name, and this is everything I have for me. Who has not Congress, lobster, love, luau, the Regency room, the Statue of Liberty runs, a sloppy amalgamation, a mistake, a cliff, a hymn, a snare, and an exceeding sun. Written in 1968. Now a poem by Yusef Komunyakaa. This one written in 1988. Titled Facing It. My black face fades, hiding inside the black granite. I said I wouldn't, damn it. No tears. I'm stone. I'm flesh. My clouded reflection eyes me like a bird of prey, the profile of night slanted against morning. I turn this way. The stone lets me go. I turn that way. I'm inside the Vietnam Veterans Memorial again, depending on the light to make a difference. I go down the 58,022 names, half expecting to find my own in letters like smoke. I touch the name of Andrew Johnson. I see the booby trap's white flash, names shimmer on a woman's blouse, but when she walks away, the names stay on the wall. Brush strokes flash, a red bird's wings cutting across my stare. The sky, a plane in the sky. A white vet's image floats closer to me, then his pale eyes look through mine. I am a window. He's lost his right arm inside the stone. In the black mirror, a woman's trying to erase names. No, she's brushing a boy's hair. Now, before we read our final two poems, I thought it might be interesting to read Lincoln's second inaugural address. It's quite short. At this second appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was at the first. Then a statement, somewhat in detail, of a course to be pursued seemed fitting and proper. Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phase of the great contest, which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is well known to the public as to myself. And it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in regard to it is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it. All sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. And the war came. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was, somehow, the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union, even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war the magnitude or the duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before, the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph, and a less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible, and pray to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces, but let us judge not, that we not be judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses which, in the providence of God, must needs come, but which, having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war, as the woe due to those by whom the offense came, shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of a war may speedily pass away. Yet, if God wills that it continue, until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, as was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. The final couple of poems by Langston Hughes. The first is called Sharecroppers. Just a herd of Negroes driving to the field, plowing, planting, hoeing to make the cotton yield. When the cotton's picked and the work is done, boss man takes the money and we get none. Leaves us hungry, ragged, as we were before. Year by year goes by, and we are nothing more than a herd of Negroes driven to the field, plowing life away to make the cotton yield. And now, I thank y'all. If you've watched this long, I hope that you've enjoyed these choices. This final poem by Langston Hughes is titled Freedom's Plow. And it begins. When a man starts out with nothing, when a man starts out with his hands empty but clean, when a man starts out to build a world, he starts first with himself and the faith that is in his heart, the strength there, the will there to build. First in the heart is the dream, then the mind starts seeking a way. His eyes look out on the world, on the great wooded world, on the rich soil of the world, on the rivers of the world. The eyes see their materials for building, see the difficulties too, and the obstacles. The hand seeks tools to cut the wood, to till the soil, and harness the power of the waters. Then the hand seeks other hands to help, a community of hands to help. Thus the dream becomes not one man's dream alone, but a community dream. Not my dream alone, but our dream. Not my world alone, but your world and my world, belonging to all the hands who build. A long time ago, but not too long ago, ships came from across the sea, bringing pilgrims and prayer makers, adventurers and booty seekers, free men and indentured servants, slave men and slave masters, all new to a new world, America. With billowing sails the galleons came, bringing men and dreams, women and dreams, in little bands together, heart reaching out to heart, hand reaching out to hand. They began to build our land. Some were free hands, seeking a greater freedom. Some were indentured hands, hoping to find their freedom. Some were slave hands, guarding in their hearts the seed of freedom. But the word was there always, freedom. Down into the earth went the plow, in the free hands and the slave hands, in indentured hands and adventurous hands, Turning the rich soil went the plow in many hands that planted and harvested the food that fed and the cotton that clothed America. Clang against the tree went the axe in many hands that hewed and shaped the rooftops of America. Splash into the rivers and the seas went the boat hulls that moved and transported America. Crack went the whips that drove the horses across the plains of America. Free hands and slave hands, indentured hands, adventurous hands, white hands and black hands held the plow handles, axe handles, hammer handles, launched the boats and whipped the horses that fed and housed and moved America. Thus together through labor, all these hands made America. Labor. Out of labor came the villages and the towns that grew to cities. Labor. Out of labor came the rowboats and the sailboats and the steamboats, came the wagons, stagecoaches. Out of labor came the factories, came the foundries, came the railroads, came the marts and markets, shops and stores, came the mighty products molded, manufactured, sold in shops, piled in warehouses, shipped the wide world over. Out of labor, white hands and black hands, came the dream, the strength, the will, and the way to build America. Now it is me here and you there. Now it's Manhattan, Chicago, Seattle, New Orleans, Boston, and El Paso. Now it is the USA. A long time ago, but not too long ago, a man said, "All men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." His name was Jefferson. There were slaves then, but in their hearts the slaves believed him too, and silently took for granted that what he said was also meant for them. It was a long time ago, but not so long ago at that. Lincoln said, "No man is good enough to govern another man without that other's consent." There were slaves then, too, but in their hearts the slaves knew what he said must be meant for every human being, else it had no meaning for anyone. Then a man said, "Better to die free than to live as slaves." He was a colored man who had been a slave, but had run away to freedom. And the slaves knew what Frederick Douglass said was true. With John Brown at Harper's Ferry, Negroes died. John Brown was hung. Before the Civil War, days were dark, and nobody knew for sure when freedom would triumph, or if it would, thought some. But others knew it had to triumph. In those dark days of slavery, guarding in their hearts the seat of freedom, the slaves made up a song. "Keep your hand on the plow, hold on." That song meant just what it said. Hold on, freedom will come. Keep your hand on the plow, hold on. Out of war it came, bloody and terrible, but it came. Some there were, as always, who doubted that the war would end right, that the slaves would be free, or that the Union would stand. But now we know how it all came out. Out of the darkest days for a people and a nation, we know now how it came out. There was light when the battle clouds rolled away. There was a great wooded land, and men united as a nation. America is a dream. The poet says it was promises. The people say it is promises that will come true. The people do not always say things out loud, nor write them down on paper. The people often hold great thoughts in their deepest hearts, and sometimes only blunderingly express them, haltingly and stumbling say them, and faultily put them into practice. The people do not always understand each other, but there is, somewhere there, always the trying to understand, and the trying to say, you are a man. Together we are building our land, America. Land created in common, dream nourished in common. Keep your hand on the plow, hold on. If the house is not finished yet, don't be discouraged, builder. If the fight is not won yet, don't be weary, soldier. The plan and the pattern is here, woven from the beginning into the warp and woof of America. All men are created equal. No man is good enough to govern another man without that other's consent. Better die free than live as slaves. Who said those things? Americans. Who owns those words? America. Who is America? You. Me. We are America. To the enemy who would conquer us from without, we say, no. To the enemy who would divide and conquer us from within, we say, no. Freedom, brotherhood, democracy. To all the enemies of these great words, we say, no. A long time ago, an enslaved people heading toward freedom made up a song. Keep your hand on the plow, hold on. That plow plowed a new furrow across the field of history. Into that furrow the freedom seed was dropped. From that seed a tree grew, is growing, will ever grow. That tree is for everybody, for all America, for all the world. May its branches spread and its shelter grow until all races and all peoples know its shade. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Langston Hughes was born in Joplin, Missouri in 1902. Not far from where I was born. 81 years later. This month, actually. So I'm going to try to produce one of these each week. I have a couple of ideas for the intervening weeks, but I'm looking forward to the end of the month, the week of my birthday. I have a rather macabre series of poems for you, and some of my favorites. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying coming up with these dockets, and I really hope that you few have enjoyed watching and listening. Thank you so much. Enjoy your freedom.